This is Representative J.J. Humphrey. We're back on Elephant in the Room. We got Bobby Cleveland with us, and today we got special guest Justin Jackson. And Bob, I haven't got ready for our pet peeve. I didn't have a pet peeve. Do you have a pet peeve today?
I do have a pet peeve.
What's your pet peeve, Bob?
Well, when I do the washing, and I put my underwear, my socks in the dryer, or from the wash machine to the dryer. Then I go get them out of the dryer. Somehow I miss one sock, and all my underwear is turned upside down, inside out. So I thought today I'm going to trick that sucker. So I turned my underwear inside out when I washed them. And guess what?
They're still inside out.
Yes.
It's the gremlins. It's the gremlins. I have that same pet peeve. I hate it when you go in there. Why is it that it's always them stretched out socks? I can never find good socks. You know what I'm saying? I got good socks, but it's always a pair of old nappy socks that won't stay up. You get them on and your boot eats them. So I'm with you, Bob. I get a little upset on the same thing. So that's
You
the
got
pet.
the tumbler cycle, Bob. That's what's happening. They're tumbling, getting inside.
I look. I know. I put all of them, made it in there, and they come out and they got three minutes socks.
Let me ask you, Justin. Are you saying that Bob needs to learn to run his equipment there? Is that what you're saying?
Today's technology in the domestic.
Yeah,
Bob. So I feel for you.
Absolutely. Well, today what we wanted to talk about is, man, there has been some crazy stuff happening in the Glossip and the Tremane Wood case. And man, what's really coming out is the corruption in our court system. And that's the thing that is just really blown my mind. And so again, Gittner Drummond came out and basically slammed the pro board for giving clemency. So if you guys don't know, you guys listening, we had a death penalty case where they went up for a clemency hearing. What was that, Tuesday? I guess it's somewhere around Tuesday. And anyways, basically they awarded clemency 3-2, and basically the AG come out and really slammed them and said this guy wasn't deserving, and that he couldn't understand why that they had given this. And the reason they listed was because of all the corruption that this guy's Tremane Wood's team had displayed. They did a great job of showing all the gaming of the court system. And again, here's what blows my mind. What's that?
They have nothing when you talk about comparing the judicial system. When you look at David Fleener's case,
well, Bob, that's the problem, and that's what I want to talk about today. It's not one case. Anytime you're investigating something, you want to look for patterns. We can always have that Richard Glossop or Tremane Woods or David Fleener. You can have one case, and if you find one case, you go, okay, stuff happens. But when you see the same, and here's the problem, all three of those cases that we're naming right there that are huge cases that have absolutely show that there is just misconduct in the judicial, misconduct in the prosecutors. Guess what? It all comes from the same county, and it all comes from a lot of the same time period. But the problem is we have a court system right now that doesn't say, yeah, that was bad. Yes, you've shown that's wrong. Instead, they want to fight and they want to go after the people, just like Gittner going after this pro board. Well, how did they make a decision? He knows dang good and well how they made the decision. He's looked at all of this. He knows all of it. And again, Justin, you're the guy that got me involved in looking. I didn't want to get involved in none of this, to tell you the truth. I remember way back, we're talking 6-7 years ago, maybe. I don't know how long ago. We've known each other for good 10 or 12 years, but probably shortly after I became a representative, you talked me into looking at this one case, and I've just been floored at what we found. So what was your take on it?
As far as the clemency hearing, I felt like the parole board made the right decision. The 3 yeses anyway, because one, he didn't have adequate representation, and the attorney even said so. You know, he was on drugs and alcohol during that time. I think he prepared 2 hours was all he put in to Tremane's case. But the evidence shows that Tremane did not kill Ronnie Wimpf. And even his friend that was there that night, that was witness to the murder, said that it was Tremane's brother. And so,
well, Tremaine's brother even said that it was him.
oh, I mean, yeah, Tremaine's brother, and then I still don't understand how he was able to get. He escaped the death penalty, and then Tremane, and I think it was because of poor representation, poor counsel, but he got the death sentence as a result.
Yeah, that's where our system's kind of really messed up. I mean, we know several cases like that where the guy that admittedly killed him is gets life without parole or life sentence, and the guy that was maybe the accomplice or maybe not even involved in it ends up with death penalty.
Yeah, it's that to me is very disturbing. But to what you said earlier, his defense, they were ready. There's no doubt. I felt like he did a good job. Even Ronnie's family, they have asked that his life be spared. They don't want to see Tremane executed.
Right.
And which I think that's very courageous of them to say that.
I was really shocked at that, but yeah, they come out publicly and stated that. So yeah, it was that's pretty interesting.
You know, and my heart goes out to them. I mean, they lost their son
Absolutely.
at 19 years old, and you know, forever changed their life. It forever changed Tremane's life. I have gotten to know Tremane just by visiting Richard, and whenever he was on death row, and I will tell you this: he was always very cordial. He was very well spoken. Always had a lot of family come see him, and I don't know if you listened to the entire hearing, but when his teacher, I think when he was probably in the 6th grade, he was right at 12 years old. His English teacher spoke on his behalf, and I believe I told you, and I may have sent you a copy of. He had put a petition together, had written it out. And it was something inside death row on H unit was trying to get some counseling but he is an amazing writer. His penmanship, I have told several people this, it looks like that of the days when they would write with a feather and a jar of ink. I mean, it
as good as mine? Is it as good as mine?
He puts you and I to shame, I promise you.
Oh,
it truly is, and his grammar, everything is that really surprised me. But I think his 6th grade English teacher did a wonderful job as far as characterization of Tremane, and so I'm glad that the parole board saw to it to give him clemency, and now, you know, it's all in Stitt's corner. And
well, if you looked at what they said, you know, and I said that was Tuesday. I'll tell you, it was Wednesday because I was up. I was going to go to that hearing, but I was up at protesting on that rape charge up there at Payne County. So I had to pick which one of them I was going to go to, and I ended up there in Payne County. But if you looked at what they said, and what our listeners need to understand, so these two guys, these two brothers, were with 2 women. Those 2 women went to, I think, a bar, picked up a couple other guys, took them back to an apartment or to a motel room where the Wood brothers were waiting to rob them, and it got out of hand, and this victim got stabbed. And so, anyways, you know, what is transpired though in these court, and again, it's the same thing we saw in Glossip. So you got to stack this on top of Glossip, and we are going to come back to David Fleener here in a minute, Bob, because again, here we have this same type of thing going on that we can't get in front of the court. But what you had, so in Richard Glossip, we caught them. Um, we did an investigation. We got the DA investigator signed an affidavit saying that the DAs had told them to put evidence in a box, set it on fire, and destroy the key evidence that would have cleared this man. We got them writing a letter to the witness that we know killed the man. So here's another case. The killer is actually testifying against somebody that they're having to destroy evidence to make a case on. And then they turned around and said, hey, what you're testifying doesn't line up with the evidence of medical examiner, and we'd like you to change your testimony, help our case. Here's what we want you to say. Now, that's perjury. That's supporting perjury. That's witness tampering. That's destroying evidence, all crimes. So we have prosecutors committing crimes to prosecute somebody that they have to destroy evidence so that they can convict him, so that he doesn't have the evidence to clear him. Now that's kind of where I'm seeing it from. That's the Humphrey take on it. But it wasn't just my take, because we had to go all the way to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court basically said the same thing. Now that goes in front of A.G. Drummond, and A.G. Drummond refused to file on these prosecutors who committed these crimes, because what he said, the case was too old. Well, tell that to Richard Glossip, who sat in there and got on the gurney 3 times and almost got killed 3 times, and sat in prison 27 plus 28 years. I don't think it'd be too old for him, because, he's still sitting in jail on all that. Then we get into Richard's case, where we're having the Supreme Court demanded that we have a new trial. And in that trial, we're trying to find a judge who can be fair. And you can't find them. You can't get it. I mean, you can't get the stuff. And so the last hearing, we're seeing this judge you can't make this stuff up. The judge is having a hearing on herself, where she's presiding over herself to decide whether she can be fair and unbiased. Now, we find out that one of the DAs that's going to be the key witness in this trial is going to vacations with this judge, going to Spain, going all over the places like this, 3 or 4 vacations like that they took together. We're also seeing emails where this judge is disclosing to this DA, who she interned for, disclosing stuff from the AG that she shouldn't be disclosing with her. And again, we got all that on email, and how in the world could she not, recuse? Why would she even have to have a hearing? That'll show you how corrupt she is, and that'll show you how corrupt the system has gotten to be. But again, we have all of these evidence, and then we turn around and the email that they were sharing, guess whose case it was in? Tremane Wood. And so again, here we have them doing improper communications in Tremane Wood's case. Then you turn around and Tremane Wood's one of those girls. She's going to testify against them. She's got a bunch of charges up there out of Payne County. In order to make her a witness so that it looks better to the jury, they go up there to Payne County, and they go into the court and say, she successfully completed probation. We recommend her probation be terminated, and the whole thing be dismissed, expunged. And so anyways, I get hold of a probation pro report, because I'm an old probation pro officer. And when I see that report, I'm going, look here. And in that report, that probation officer says she violated reporting, didn't come in, got dirty UAs, got all kinds of stuff. We're losing him, Bob. He got all kinds of stuff, and yet they go in there, including So here she is on probation, and they got murder, they got conspiracy to rob and robbery. So you commit a murder, conspiracy to rob, and robbery while you're on probation, and the DA goes in and says, "Oh, did awesome on probation. We need to let her go. We need to dismiss this case and expunge her record." Now that's perjury all day long. So the court is committing perjury in order to make a witness look good to a jury. What you got going on? You losing your power?
Yeah, I've got an older phone, and boy, the battery goes down in a hurry. So,
Yeah,
all right.
I got mine plugged in before we
We on
started.
Benjamin Franklin now. So come on.
There you go. But here's the deal. The whole thing is that they lied, they perjured themselves to get this witness, and then they made deals with that witness to give her shorter time. And you can look at the whole deal, it's a whole setup deal. And that's what this pro board, that's what the pro board was saying, is that it was all of this corruption. Now, one last thing I got to add before we start discussing it. I just want people to understand what it is we're discussing. But I had written all of this, and I'd gotten with his lawyers, and I wrote all this up to say, look at this probation report. Now look at this order where the DA's walked in and said successfully completed probation. That's a lie. They were sitting there holding this report when they said it. They marched her down here, and I also got the lawyers. I called them and said, "How many times has this Fern Smith, the DA that's being accused of all this, allegedly done?" Well, some of it ain't alleged because court's already determined a bunch of it. But she has had, I think it was 5 cases overturned due to misconduct like this, due to the misconduct, bad behavior, and some of it illegal behavior. And so I included all that. Well, getting her come back, "Oh, he slammed me. Oh, this is not true. This is not, JJ's just, talking, telling what the lawyers are saying." Well, hey, I'd found that on my own doings. But anyways, what we find though is Gittner is having, and he's doing it in writing. I can't believe he does this in writing. He's emailing a lumpkin up there on the appellate court that's looking at Tremane Woods, and he's the main one. He's the one going to write the report, dissenting votes, or whatever you want to call that. Anyways, they're writing each other, which is, it's improper. I know it's unethical. I don't know if it's illegal, but highly unethical. It's called ex parte, having sideline communications without the other side in there. You ain't supposed to do it. Here we are. We just got spanked by the Supreme Court for gaming the system, and now we're gaming the system again on Richard Glossip, and now we're gaming the system again on Tremane Woods. And I'm just floored at how that our government cannot hold the AG, these appellate courts, these district courts, these DAs. I mean, something's got to be done.
Yeah, there needs to be a change because Tremane's case and Richard's case are a prime example. And I hope that Governor Stitt will look at this and grant him clemency. It's been he's only granted one out of the I guess there's been 17 now that we've had, and 16 of those have been 16 of those have been executed. The only one that was granted was
Julius Jones.
Julius Jones. That's right.
And that was only because he's getting pressure from Hollywood and a bunch of. If truth be known about that, what saved Julius Jones was a bunch of big companies basically that were looking at coming to Oklahoma, and they were basically saying, if you execute Julius Jones, we won't come to Oklahoma. So what saved Julius Jones was not, and in fact, I know Julius's people, and I like his people. The people he has around him are awesome. His parent, his mom and the family, very, very great people. I've gotten to know them, super people. But I told them, I looked at Julius's cases, and Julius is one of them that in fact, I think me and Bob were out. Bob, we were at a prison or somewhere. You remember that we were at Sayer, and basically they called me. The media called me and said, we'd like to know what you say. And I said, well, I'd probably execute him. I'd go ahead and pull the trigger, And they said, you're the only one that would say that. And I said, well, I'm just telling you, I've looked at the case, and it just looks like he's guilty. I don't know what to tell y'all. I'm saying that's what I do. Governor's office calls me and says, you're the only one to stand up. We're proud that you stand up. And then a day later, they're clemency. I go, what just happened here?
Yeah.
But I think that's what it was. I think that he had a big Hollywood crowd behind him. He had a lot of. He did a great job at getting public international support behind him, and so that's what saved him. I would tell you. You remember old Philip Hancock?
Yeah.
And see, now that's the one case I couldn't believe. If there's ever a case that you would have filed clemency on, that would have been the case. This Tremane Woods is another case I get. Again, Richard Glossop is another. All of these cases have huge holes in them and should not be moving forward. And again, what we should be doing is prosecuting the prosecutors. We should be going after when we catch them destroying evidence, lying. And again, this case that we talked about, Bob just mentioned a while ago. Bob, you want to explain that case a little bit for us so that everybody know what we're talking about?
Sure. Well, there's a guy named David Fleener, and I guess it's been 30 years now. He was home. His his girlfriend, she decides that she's going to go shopping at Walmart at midnight. So she leaves. Well, as she's leaving, she see this guy knocking in the door. She's on the driveway. This guy walked up on the porch and knocked the door in. She didn't. It's strange that she didn't do anything about it. She didn't say anything or do anything. So David had a fight with the guy who broke into his home, and he had a knife, and he used the knife and he stabbed him twice. And according to the medical people that we have talked to, was the way he was stabbed was bleeding on the inside, wasn't bleeding on the outside. But the blood and all this is going to get up in his lungs eventually. He could walk probably maybe half a mile before he killed him. So David didn't know anything, and he got all shook up. So we'll buzz on up to the trial. In the trial, they got him for life without parole.
Well, Bob, and also in that, and Chai Chi, I think it's her name. You remember that name? I think it's the same one testified in Richard's case, I believe. Yeah. So, anyways, this medical examiner comes in and says that wherever he got stabbed. So she was saying wherever David Fleener stabbed this guy. So they're fighting. He gets hold of a knife that he had laying out there. He stabs him, and then he leaves. Well, Chai Chi says, wherever he stabbed him is right where he would have fell. That's where he'd have died. So what police said, he must have run down the street because the guy went out and went a half a block or so and died on the street. So they're saying David followed him out at a later time. You know what I'm saying? Because they saw it.
They couldn't prove it. They couldn't prove it. It was their theory of how it went. That David followed him and hunted him down like a dog. That's what they say. And stabbed him, and then stabbed him on the next thing. This stabbing on this time killed him. The other stabbing didn't. They said this.
But that here's the deal. We got doctors. We got a Dr. McGee that's one of the best in the nation. He got interested in this case. He said the testimony was wrong. Sent the case to one of the highest ranked medical examiners in the nation. Sent it and said, I'm not going to tell you anything. I want you to look at this and come to your own conclusion. That guy came to the same conclusion. They sent it to another medical examiner who came to the same conclusion. So this medical examiner that sat up there and told everybody, he would have had to track him down the street to kill him. That is untrue. David's story lines up according to all of these medical professionals.
Well,
And
JJ,
then,
don't forget, even at that, the neighbor seen him out there. He testified that he did not have a knife.
right, and the thing about it is, the wife getting, or the girlfriend getting up at midnight was a little strange. You always thought that was strange, but then we find out she is
couldn't figure out
involved.
why, how she got into it, what it was. But well, guess what? They started investigating it. And this is just last year, after 30 years, that they were having an affair. She was having an affair with David's girl. She was living with David, but having an affair with this other guy.
Yeah, the guy that shows up, which now makes it really speculative whether he showed up to kill David, But again, she's leaving at midnight. The guy's going in that she's having an affair with is now going to the house. Now, the police know all this, and guess what? Nobody discloses any of this information, during the trial, which would have been, you're supposed to disclose this stuff. And again, that's key stuff. We got a guy sitting in prison 29, 30 years on stuff that the police knew and kept from and intimidated the witness. And in fact, this old gal ended up killing herself, didn't she, Bob?
Yeah, she killed herself because she testified against David, and then later on she killed herself. But here's the thing: everybody was kind of everybody that knows about this case, been following it, could not figure out what she had to do with the case. Well, they found out that them two were hooking up together. Now, David lives close to this bar. This bar is I think it's like 8 blocks away. Well, this guy's in this bar drinking. He's drunk. He got in a fight at the bar. He got kicked out of the bar. So he goes walking down the street. Well, we always wonder, why did he walk down the street and all of a sudden just go pick David Fleener's house out? He had a motive. He was drunk, and he was upset that she was having an affair with this guy. Now, I'm just guessing. But we do know that she's seen him testify, that she's seen him go into the house. Now, if she didn't know him, she might have said something. So the long story short is he stabbed him twice in the house. We've got medical examiners after medical examiners. The top there is said, if you got stabbed in this manner, how would you die instantly? They said you'd either die instantly or you'd be paralyzed. That's what they said. But this experts that we have talked to in medical that has nothing to do with the case all said that he could walk maybe up to a mile before he died, because every time he was breathing, it was sucking. His lungs were filling up full of blood.
Right. But
And
again, here's
without parole.
All the evidence that we have, we can't get it before the court system. Very frustrating case, because now we have more than enough evidence that should warrant a new trial at least, or warrant letting him out. I mean, he's 29 years in prison. Who's going to get 29 years for a self-defense in your own home that really looks like either a drunk guy comes and is pissed off because, he's dating your girlfriend, or whether he actually meant to come in there and kill him. I mean, obviously it was because of a relationship issue, and obviously David had no idea, and obviously the guy's breaking into David's house. Why should this guy even be in prison to start with? You know what I'm saying? A total self-defense case all the way, kind of like the same that we were talking about Philip's case, same type, and again, here these people are sitting in prison because DAs, police, judges are covering up all of these lies and conducting. What would you say, Justin, would be a way to address it? I mean, there's laws. You can't get them to that's just like Gittner Drummond could have prosecuted Fern and Smotherman for destroying evidence, for perjury, for witness tampering. He could file on them all day long, and there's a history of it. Why would he not file on them?
Yeah, it's clearly a brotherhood with the attorneys, the DA, the district attorneys council,
and the judge.
We have to change that. They need to be held accountable, because we've got too many of these cases. I didn't know that case, Bob, about David Fleener, but it was clearly self-defense, and it sounds like his wife knew that it was going to happen for her to leave to go shopping at an odd.
It was his girlfriend. But yeah,
girlfriend.
that's strange. We could never figure out that why she wanted to go and why did she testify she seen this man that she didn't never seen before.
Right.
Uh, you thought, but she had to see him that he went in there. And she knew him. They got evidence
Yeah.
that she visited him in the hospital. The killer, and it's other evidence. Now this is what they found out after 30 years.
Oh
Well,
my.
but Bob, they knew it. They knew it. It was all recorded. It's just your new investigators investigating on behalf of David Fleener found it. But the way they found it was the police had it all the time. They had all these records and they never brought it forward. Why would people do that? Why would people let somebody sit in prison and not bring out all the facts? You know, it just that is what. Here's what and I got to tell you, I mean, Justin can tell you that when he first talked to me, I was like, oh man, these guys has had 2,500, man, they've had more pills, they've had a chance. I'm not interested in it. I'm not going to look at that. And he just stayed on me until I finally said, all right, I go do it. I go talk to the lawyer. And I've told story 100 times. I told that lawyer, said, hey, you better pull your old smoking gun pretty quick, because if you ain't got a smoking gun, I'm off here. And the only thing he ever said was he named the lawyer representing it. And I said, well, if he's representing him, I know he didn't get a super. I look at it and just started. And what was funny, when I first looked at Richard Glossop's case, it wasn't what they had, it's what they didn't have. Is what I'm like, how in the world could you get a murder conviction, a death penalty conviction on this bunch of trash right here? You know what I mean? And then the deeper we dug, it's just unbelievable. If you'd have told me that DAs would do that, I would have said, which we knew. I mean, we knew Bob Macy had done it in the past, but you like to think it only happens every now and then. Instead, there's a whole culture of them trained to do that. They're proud to do it. You know what I'm saying? Anything to get this guy, whether he's innocent or not, let's get a conviction and let's get a notch on our belt. We got a death penalty. Don't care if it's the right guy, wrong guy. We're just going to get a notch on our belt. And that's the way they operate.
Well,
Yeah, I
on
mean,
this case, though, on this case here, is we got the Innocent Project to help us. They first, when we tried to talk to them, they did, oh no, he's guilty. They seen the paperwork. Well, then they did some investigation to see, and they found out he's innocent. He's innocent of the murders if they have got him to it. He killed him. He knifed him in the house. Yes, he did kill a guy. The guy broke into his home, and then the girlfriend decides she's going to go shopping at midnight. It just made no sense. And then they uncovered this evidence, not really, I guess it was evidence they should have been using in the trial, but they found this out. So now it's clear and crystal clear with these medical examiners that we have. We got the top medical examiners in the nation to look at this. We've got two doctors that have nothing in the case at all. They just look at it. They both said she stabbed him, and wherever it went, it didn't go into the right place. But he'd be bleeding on the outside, nor would he be a bunch of blood everywhere.
Yeah.
But
Back,
happened,
Justin, the prosecutors, they're going to have to be held accountable. There's going to have to be, we've got to have laws enforced to where it'll make them think twice to embellish or fabricate evidence just to get a conviction. Because
that's what happened on this case, because it's very, very clear. I mean, this not me. What I found out, it's not what JJ investigated and found out. It's an Innocent Project put a guy on this thing to do it, because say it doesn't look right, especially after you find out.
Here's the other thing. What really did it was a very, very qualified doctor got interested in this case because he's helping people that come out of prison. Good dude, man. He's a good dude. And inmates that he was helping that are getting out of prison that he's working with kept telling him about this case, telling him about the case. He went down there, met him, and ended up getting all his medical stuff and looking at it and just going, this is absolutely wrong. And then, like I say, sent it to blind to this, highest medical examiner in the nation, sent it blind to him so that he wouldn't sway anything. And again, if it wouldn't been for him, and that's the deal. How many cases are sitting in prison? Because if these DAs will do it, and if we know of 5, 6, 7 cases that they've done this on, then how many cases are out there that this is what we've got prosecuting? And again, they're criminal. I mean, Smotherman, Fern, and all these people, Prater, and these people that come out of that Bob Macy era, trained under him. And guess what? You got this Judge Stallings the other day that's showing, hey, she's just a prosecutor. They trained her. She's a prosecutor in a robe. She's covering for them. She tried to, you know what I'm saying? They tried to stack the deck by getting her in there, and guarantee you, she was in there. She's going to everything. She's going to sway that case in their favor. And again, that's not a fair and impartial court system. It's corrupt as hell. That's corrupt as hell. And we're not saying we think so. We're saying it's corrupt as hell, and we have the evidence. And then you get the AG going to be having ex parte communications with the top appellate judge on this appellate case. You talk about all kinds of wrong, and then he's the one that's going to decide all of this, and then he breaks his word. He makes a deal to give Richard Glossip a deal if the Supreme Court rules in his favor. They already had a contract done made. In my opinion, I call it a contract. If I tell you I'm going to do something, you act on it, I'd say that's a contract, But again,
well, David, on this particular case, on David Flinger's case, the medical examiner said that she testified that she testified that he had a different way of killing him, stabbing him, and but she will not see us to ask her to tell us what happened. See what she knows. She knows it's not true. I gotta assume.
Well, she did tell him. I thought she put in writing to David that she was wrong.
Well, it said she made a mistake and spoke too wrong. She did do that. Got in writing from her that she told David that when he was sitting in jail, getting ready to get locked up with her decision on it. Sorry,
sentencing.
And David wrote her a letter and asked her, which is, most people wouldn't have done that, and you would never think she would have replied back. But he's sitting in jail. He asked her, why would you testify that happened, did not happen that way? Why did you testify that and make that up? And she wrote him back and said, yeah, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. That wasn't right.
Well, go ahead, Justin.
All I was going to say, just circle back to our AG, who is also running for governor. People need to pay attention to and especially these death row cases like Tremane, Richard Glossip, because I feel like he's trying to paint himself as that he's tough on crime, and that he's drawn a line in the concrete and he's not going to waver. But it doesn't take much sense, really. All you've got to do is just look at these cold hard facts of both cases, and neither one deserved the death penalty. And as we both know, Richard Glossip is innocent. I believe 100% in the charges that were he was convicted of. But
well, Justin, here's the deal: how can you go all the way to the Supreme Court and argue that these prosecutors destroyed all of this evidence, tampered with the witness? Now you're going to bring that same witness, the witness killed somebody, they killed the victim, they're the murderer. You're going to bring that same witness, the murderer, in, who has already changed his testimony because they told him to. So again, that makes him a perjurer. which story are you going with today? You're going to trot in all of these other witnesses, which are going to be these prosecutors. You're going to put them on the stand. Did you send this letter over here and tell him to lie? Did you perjure yourself? Did you perjure him? Did you tell him to destroy evidence? Because we got this statement. Did you obstruct justice? Did you destroy that? Well, guess what? How will we ever know whether his DNA was on that? How will we know if if there was a woman's DNA on it? How will we know anything? And why would you destroy it? Because you're only
Exactly.
going to destroy it.
That's just like we couldn't find any evidence, nothing at the medical examiner's office, and they're not supposed to throw anything away. They know better than that. There wasn't nothing they could find nothing on him at the medical examiner's office.
Which ought to be that right there ought to be a big red flag. That right there ought to get you moved way forward and going forward in a case to say they don't have any evidence. There's no evidence.
You got to throw it out. And back to Richard's case, and I know we've said it many times before on here, but the box of evidence that they destroyed, it would have either solidified their case or set him free.
Right.
And the reason they destroyed it, it was because they didn't want the latter to happen.
Yeah, it wasn't going to help. They didn't destroy it to help. They destroyed it to help their case, because had they not destroyed it, they wouldn't have a case. He'd be off, and they destroyed it so that he wouldn't have the evidence in front of everybody to say absolutely not, because they already made their mind up this is what they're going to do. And again, they were willing to destroy evidence, burn evidence, tell a lie, do perjury, get him to do perjury. And that's not maybe we think so. That's went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court agreed with us. The AG presented it. Now, how in the hell does he turn around the next day and go, I'm going to prosecute him? How does that happen? I mean, that's just mind blowing. And then make a deal that, hey, and not our team called him up. He called up. He's the one called up and said, hey, I don't want to wait till this happens. I want to get ahead of this thing. If this happens, if the Supreme Court rules this way, here's what we're going to do. We're going to give him this charge. He'll plead guilty to it. He'll walk out to prison. Guess what? Now that I'm running for governor, and now I'm catching a bunch of slack from all these DAs, well, guess what? I'll just go back on my word. I'll totally belly flop and say, yeah, well, I think I got a good case. Now, who does that? I mean, who does that? And then, like I say, in this case, here comes this information on Tremane Wood, where they're saying, basically, if I understand, they're talking about some of the Brady stuff that they withheld and basically ruled in their favor. And now this judge is getting a hold to Fern. Oh, hey, and they're celebrating. They're having a little celebration on that. They're not going to get any, they're going to game some more on Tremane Woods. That's the way I look at it. That's the way I read this, is they're celebrating and, oh, hey, we got by again with doing something again wrong. So we're wrong here. Now the AG is going to let us get by. Now we're celebrating it. Now I'm giving information, this judge giving information for improper. And now we got the AG in Tremane Wood going over here and doing improper. Now we've got this prosecutor that was doing it that's been caught 500 times, now caught on an email. Now we've got the AG doing the same thing with the appellate court judge. I mean, how in the hell much more can you get more corrupt than that? And then the AG's got the nerve to come out and go, I can't understand what the pro board was thinking. Well, how about they're thinking you a bunch of corrupt sons of bucks is what they're thinking. And for them to come out and actually write that, and that's what they pretty much come out and said, was it was just due to all the corruption in this case.
Right.
Is that not, I mean, what's that say to Oklahoma? I mean, and here's in the light of, you would think in the light of the Supreme Court calling them out on that they'd want to get kind of straight. And instead right here, they're just doubling down on their practices.
They've been defiant. And to me, they are giving those that want to abolish the death penalty a huge silver bullet.
I agree.
and I know that's not what we want. I believe in capital punishment, but we've got to get all this um, what if in the gray area. We've got to get it cleaned up.
Well, Justin, you agree on capital punishment when it's carried out appropriately, where it's carried out with
Well,
justice righteously. You can't do it when you have no faith in the court system. When the crooks are wearing black robes and sitting over at the prosecutor stand, when they're criminals, when they're violating the law to convict people, guess what? It's hard to have any faith. I will tell you right now, I don't know if y'all been watching. Well, I know I've talked to both of you a little bit, but man, what's going on in Payne County right now is exactly what we're talking about. I mean, these judges that are just, we had that grand jury come up there, and that judge comes in and says, I've certified these signatures, and we say, hey, judge, you didn't certify them because the board never met. The board never met, and he's like, not my problem. And so again, and then I go back and talk to the board. I've got it in an email. Did you meet? Did you review? Did you certify? Never met, never reviewed, never certified. Well, guess what? I mean, here's a judge sat on the stand on this huge case and said it was certified, and that's a lie. And again, if he was told that, okay, that's fine. I get that. But do you have an obligation to go check? And that's what one of the things that Glossip come out on this Supreme Court case is that he's basically saying that if the court has a reasonable belief that there's something wrong, or that there's fraud or abuse, that they have a duty to look into that. They have a duty to stop that. And again, what we've seen in Richard's case was a constant showing of abuse, massive evidence of abuse, and that was ignored by every, you know what I'm saying, every level there was. The AG, to his credit on that one, got with this. But again, what happened to him, that's the only thing that he's done that I'm going to say, okay, I agree with him on.
Right.
There's nothing. But here's these rape cases where the DA has to agree. I mean, you got a guy that's like 10, 12 charges, strangulation, rape by hesitation, rape. He videotapes it. He's my understanding, he was adjudicated adult, goes through the whole deal, pleads guilty, 78 years. Judge walks in and says, "Nah, I'm going to ignore all that. I'm going to ignore the victim. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. Nothing ethical about it. Nothing just about it." And just comes back in there and gives him community service. And 8 months from now, he's going to walk away with no record at all. You talk about, I mean, how in the world can this be going on? And again, when you call it out, guess who they make out to be the troublemaker?
J.J. Humphrey.
They really do, Bob. I'm feeling like I'm just feeling everywhere I go, I just stir up a little trouble, such a.
Doing something right. Here's something in this on the subject of death row. They're going to have an execution, barring anything comes up, next Thursday on the 14th. A gentleman in South Carolina, and it sounds like he's very deserving. He taunted the police, the investigators, and he would write, number 4, catch me if you can, in the victim's blood, things like that. But it's in South Carolina, and he has chose to be executed by firing squad.
Yeah, I seen that the other day. That's odd.
Yeah, so I read a little bit more about it, and they're only 15 feet away, and 3 gunmen, and they're all supposed to put it right here in the heart. So,
do all of them actually have? Because I always thought there was only one that had actual round, and all the rest of them were fake loads,
Right.
and nobody knew
Who was actually the killing
shooter.
shot?
Yeah.
No, what I read about it, because they actually had the last one, because there's people that are opposed to it, obviously, because they said the last person that died by way of firing squad suffered longer than they should, and he only had 2 bullets in the heart, and that one of the gunmen missed at 15 feet. Now, I contend maybe he was a good shot and he got a bullet in the same hole as the other one.
That or he missed on purpose.
He might have missed on purpose, but anyway, so that's kind of an interesting that's coming up. And of course, with Tremane, he is scheduled for next. No, I guess his is Thursday the 13th, and that guy's is the next day on the 14th. But I just ask everybody to pray for Tremane, pray for Ronnie Wimp's family as they are going through this. Just the memories and everything being dug up, but pray that Governor Stitt, will make the right decision and grant him clemency. And they're not asking for him to have life with the possibility. They're asking for life without the possibility. Tremane has owned, his involvement in this. He knew it was wrong. And I think I've told you, Justin, my times that I have been able to visit with Tremane, I can tell everyone I saw true fear in his eyes. And he's, and I know he's been able to continue to live. He's got a family that comes to visit him. One day when I was there, he was seeing his grandbaby for the very first time, and I'm reminded Ronnie will not get to do those things, but I believe that Tremane's life should be spared because he was not the murderer. His brother was the murderer. His brother committed suicide a couple of years ago, I believe.
Yeah, over this, and that was the whole deal. I mean, what I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is kind of circling back to one of the ladies that was responsible. To me, as you said, she just got a slap on the wrist for her involvement.
And looking at that case, I've looked at it quite a bit. I would say that if I was to, and again, we don't know, we're speculating here, but if I was to say who's the person that I would suspect come up with this plan, she would be the first one that I'd lay my finger on, because if you go back and look at her past, and if you go back and talk to people who dealt with her, I don't think this was her first rodeo. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think it was their first rodeo. But as far as this plan and carrying out this plan, I think she had possibly been involved in similar stuff from things that I was told. Now again, that's all hearsay. But again, how does she get? Why are you going to give her, who has a criminal record, why she end up doing 6 years? She's out because she's willing to testify. And again, you were willing to go lie to the court, commit perjury. And again, you're committing perjury on this jury when you present her. Oh, yeah, she's got no record. Well, that's a lie. You just doctored it up. You're the one who, the court doing that. And that's where I'm at. One, he's not the murderer. But two, even if he was the murderer, you don't do that. You don't break the law to convict somebody. That makes you no better. When you're a convict and you're a criminal, guess what? And then you're putting on the black robe and I hold you worse than any. You know what I'm saying? A drug dealer, I'm going to put him in jail. But a judge or a DA that's dealing dope, guess what? They need to go to jail 3 times longer. And a judge that will perjure or allow perjury, and a DA that will perjure, hide evidence, destroy evidence, change testimony, witness tamper, all of that, commit crimes to convict somebody and put them in jail. Guess what? They ought to go to jail, and they ought to go to jail for a pretty good time. I would make that a pretty stout sentence. You know what I mean? It's wrong. And that's what's happened in all of these cases. David Fleener's case, we got, if we went back and looked at Phillips' case, guess what? They didn't produce that film. I mean, they had a film with the eyewitness, the girlfriend of one of the victims, who say it was the victim's fault. They had a gun. They're beating him with the pipe. He defended himself. And if he would not have, they would have killed him. And she says that all on film. And yet, boom, they withhold the film. They withhold that evidence. What's that, Justin?
We lost sound.
Yeah. Hey,
into
Justin,
a 2x4 case. Do you lose me?
Yeah, you're good now. Say it again.
Okay. I was just saying they were trying to force Philip into a 2x4 cage.
Right.
And, but yeah, you're right. We didn't see that video of that testimony until the hearing.
Yeah, it's like the last week.
The jurors never saw that.
Never.
And, it bothers me because, as you and I both know, we had all the political boxes checked for Philip Hancock.
Right.
Even I went and talked to Stitt the night before, and that's coming up 2 years because you and I were there.
Hey, that's the only death carried out death penalty that I ever went and actually. And I wasn't there as a protester. I was just there, supporter of Philip, saying it was wrong. Again, I support the death penalty. You support the death penalty, but I support it being carried out right. And I'm not for the corruption, whether it's even like in David Fleener. David Fleener ain't on death penalty, but David Fleener spent 30 years of his life behind bars.
Yeah, his life
Yeah, he shouldn't have done it. I mean, he should never went to 1 day of prison. And now here he is on this because you have officers that hid evidence. You have a DA that prosecuted and withheld evidence and prosecuted wrongly. And you have a medical examiner who testified wrongly. And because of all of these corrupt wrongdoings, misbehavior, and some illegal behavior, then you got a man spending 30 years who was defending himself. And if that don't mean nothing to you, let somebody break in your house, you get in a fight with them, and then you had to spend 30 years of your life in prison for defending your house and defending your life. That's wrong, and that's what Philip did. That's what he did. Again, Richard, there's not enough evidence to convict him of jaywalking, and here we are going over it again. And then we got Tremane, who I will say Tremane was guilty of robbing this guy. He was in there when he died. He was a participant. He aided and abetted in that. Okay, if you want to say that's deserving of life, we can have an argument about that. But whether he should get the death penalty, no way. And then them to have to lie, perjure yourself to do it again. I hope that the governor. I will tell you, I've got a lot of people calling me, what do you think the governor will do? And I go, hey, I ain't even going to predict. I don't even know because I've seen him do stuff that I so much disagree with on him on these kind of cases. And so I'm not even going to go out and predict. But my gosh, I hope he has enough sense to look at what's going on.
We got evidence where she says the medical examiner admitted that she made a mistake. Right. That should be enough right there to have another trial.
Well, and Bob, and when people ought to also know on that, they polled the jury, and the jury, 9 of the jurors said that the reason they convicted him was the testimony of that medical examiner. The medical examiner has said she was wrong. You got 3 experts, top-notch experts, world-renowned expert, and you're going, hey, what's it take when you got 3 experts and the own person that done it said, I was wrong, and the jurors said, based on that, that's what we convict him. And nobody wants to hear this case. That's where we're so far out of whack on this. But again, we got to start holding these judges that are we got stuff where they're taking kids away, and having gag orders where we can't see anything on that. rates are being turned loose, and it's not one man up there. They won't even prosecute. We got people having to go hire attorneys to get their case prosecuted. You know, not the perpetrator, not the criminal, the victim having to hire lawyers to get their case heard and get prosecuted. Where in the hell did we go wrong? This is Red, Oklahoma, you know. So I'm gonna give y'all guys. I think we're getting pretty close. I was trying to look at our time here. Oh, we're actually over, so we're gonna have to end it. We've actually went a little over, and so today we're gonna have to wrap it up. And hey, I appreciate y'all, Justin. I appreciate all the work you do on, you know, exposing all this. You're the one who got me involved, and I'm all on board right now because we've just seen all of the corruption going on in these. It's getting exposed, and we're going to keep calling it out. We're going to keep working on it. Bob, we're going to keep working on David. We're going to get David out. We're going to try to get David out, and so hopefully we're going to have a meeting here pretty quick to see how to do that. Hey, we just want to tell everybody how much we appreciate it. Turn your underwear and your socks inside out and turn the tumbler on. Y'all have a good day.
See ya.